Hey guys, Kaido here. Today I got you the Graves Guide. For anyone who doesn't know who I am, I'm a Challenger Jungler, 1680 LP peak, and a Challenger 80 carry, 1480 LP peak on the NA server. I'm currently Challenger on 2 accounts, playing jungle and ADC. I have pretty insane stats. I've been Challenger since Season 7 and was consistently top 10 from Season 9 to 13, but decided to not grind League as much as I used to after Season 13. I mainly played Graves and Kindred back then, climbing, so I have quite the experience on both these champions, and in today's video, I'll give you the basics of what you need to know to climb on Graves. This is what we will be covering today to help you understand Graves better. It will be pretty straightforward and easy to digest. I'm sure if you copy most of what I talk about today and apply it with a lot of reps, you will climb on this champion. This was my win rate on Graves on one of my accounts before the collector nerfs. I was rushing collector first item, greeting for Thanos 3 crit item power. It's been a while since Graves has felt this good. He's been pretty weak, I feel like, recently because of his items and just how jungle is, but as of recently, with the jungle buffs for XP and more gold and just his crit changes, he's become very strong again. Let's go over the pros and cons of Graves. He's a 1v9 carry, very self-sufficient champion, as he has good mobility, good sustain, and good damage. His smokescreen is a very OP ability. If you have good grit usage in his E, you'll be quite tanky, you have a lot of armor, and lastly, he's a great invader because of all of the above. Now for cons, he tends to be very weak versus AP junglers, and you'll see that in the matchups later on. He brings no CC to the comp. He's a carry jungler, so usually you want to pair him with some type of setup. Usually that's coming from the ball in. If you miss your abilities, you lose out on a lot of damage. But you know, eventually it doesn't matter when you're 2-3 hitting people with autos. Let's go over his identity. These will be the 3 points we will cover next. So from what we have learned just now at pros and cons, we need to understand that this champion needs a lot to function in the game, be able to carry the game hard. If you cannot do that, you'll be really useless. So to make that easier on yourself, you need to set up on your team, unless the NU comp is terrible to where you can legit run over it. Basically, when they are a no CC comp. A little recap on that. Pause the screen if you need to. Take in all 4 points on your screen and make this your mindset going into every game you play as Graves. Now let's get into the runes first, then builds. For shards, you run attack speed shard with adaptive and scaling HP. Though if you're very used to the attack speed, you can run double adaptive if you're very used to the attack speed. I like it a lot, as alacrity to me is enough attack speed on Graves in my opinion. As for your main runes, Fleet is your best choice. You can go Dark Harvest, but to me that rune is for more noob stompy type team comps, so where they are very squishy, like 3 to 4 plus champions on one team. Carrying on, you go Fleet with Triumph, Alacrity, and lastly Cut Down or Coup. To me, both runes are good, but Coup will always be my favorite, especially for junglers. Usually you are cleaning up kills as a carry jungler. It also has insane synergy with Collector. Cut Down is better when team comps are a lot more tankier, so versus a lot of breezers and tanks. Now for your secondary options, you got 3 of them. Free Boots and Cosmic, which is my favorite. It's actually good for invading, with Smite CD being lower. So strong for low 2, low 3 invades in the early game, as where your Smite comes up sooner. You got the Domination Tree, Eyeball Collection, and Treasure Hunter. This is just for pure snowballing and try to get the max money possible from your early game plays. Take it when you have a lot of gankable lanes with setup to take over the map. And for your last option, Sorcery Tree with Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm. Just your simple scaling runes for a lot of AD later on. Absolute Focus is also nice early on for clearing because you're a very healthy champion with Fleet Fork and being able to kite your camps. Now let's go over the builds for Graves. First I'm going to go over some items before I show you the build. As for your boots, I would suggest usually going one of the defensive boots. Zerkers is kinda unnecessary on Graves. Tabas or Treads is very nice to have on them. Though if they have a lot of slows, Swifties does give you a lot of value in those situations. Now for the Last Whisper items, which will be part of your 3 core, as you really needed to do damage in the early to mid game transition. LDR no longer gives the Giant Slayer passive, and Mortal is just 5 less AD and armor pen, but gives you grievous wound passive. I suggest you build mortal most of your games if they have any sort of healing on enemy team. To me, it just has a lot more value over LDR. As for these two lethality items, which can be part of your core, you build one of these items first in your 3 item set. Both have different uses, and honestly, it's completely preference. I'm a big fan of Yuumu's for the out of combat MS to get to places, but if you feel like you don't need that extra movement speed and want more damage, you can go opportunity. To me, Graves builds aren't that flexible at the moment. You just have the crit build pretty much with the lethality items, and you can go build defense items like Maw or BT. In the past, Graves has had other builds where you could have met lethality with Cleaver Grudge, or more sustained builds like lethality into Cleaver BT Shubo type stuff. Even like Shubo, when it had lifesteal, Shubo, IE, LDR, something like that. But right now you just have this build. It consists of your first 2 items being lethality, so you need to snowball off these items. Usually you want to go Last Whisper after Yuumu and Collector, as by then they will have armor. But if you think you can go IE, feel free to go IE. As for your Zeal item, it's only Rapid Fire to me, but usually I never build Rapid Fire unless I'm selling my boots for it. Maw, BT, Mercurial are all great defensive items for your 3 crit item core. You usually won't go 100% crit and will be sitting on 75% usually. Collector, Last Whisper item, and IE are usually all the crit items you need. The new shield bow is not that bad and it gives crit, but BT is just overall a better item and makes you effectively more tankier. As for your second build, it's just the more greedier path to where you are playing for 3 crit items. You're rushing Collector. I know they nerfed the 3 lethality from it in patch 4.2.11, but that doesn't matter, and why is because the AD is what Graves likes the most to me. Getting BF Sword Recall is very OP in the early game for clearing and for fights. Second item, I suggest you go Last Whisper item of your choice, as it allows you to not get annoyed by any armor bars on enemy team. But in those games where you can greed IE, you need to get BF Sword Recall. You can go IE, but it's very greedy. And then the end of your build, after your 3 core, you just build defense items that you need for the game. Usually it's BT, as it gives you a lot of AD. If you need Maw versus heavy AP, or you need QSS versus annoying CC comps, get those items. So now let's talk about matchups. Before I go into the tier list, I want to talk about Graves as a champion. As for matchups, he does quite have a lot of rough matchups, but to be honest, a good amount of time, your individual matchup does not matter. It's more that if you're able to find money in the game, this champ is able to hard carry deadweight teammates past a certain point, but it needs to reach there. I've won so many quote-unquote unwinnable games that I was able to carry after a certain point. If the game was ever to go in his favor in volatility, he's one of the best champions to capitalize on it. Okay, now let's look at tier list, which in my opinion are his worst to good matchups. Again, remember what I said, the comp matters more usually than your own individual matchup. So when we look at hard, we can see the most common issue. Most are magic damage champions. Second, it's champions if paired with disgusting champions, which we will go over, very hard to play. Then you got your winning and easy matchups, pretty self-explanatory. Okay, for the hard matchups, some of these champions if paired well are annoying. Akshan or Tristana with the AP pairings will just have perma prowl and are able to skirmish and invade you to steal your camps or even kill you. Or they are able to defend their jungler, like a Fiddlesticks, which is usually pretty weak in the early game because of the reasons above. Some champions just have heavy CC to where you need to respect them in the multiple number of fights. You can win any of these matchups, but it depends on comps, and if you are able to find windows to punish them, you will take over the game. Knowing how to punish mistakes is a very needed skill set on Graves, or even in general as a jungler, especially a carry jungler. The better you are at recognizing mistakes, the more opportunities you will have to make gold. If you are unable to see them, you will just be a very poor jungler. You won't be that carry jungler piss smurfing in your games. Kindred matchup to me is a skill matchup, but Kindred tends to outscale in terms of marks and team fighting, so you really need to snowball this matchup. Pretty simple. They have a lot of CC, and CC is annoying to play against as Graves. as you are not able to hit the enemy. They also win well in your face, or Nunu snowballing you, Poppy doing Poppy things. How do you play sometimes, especially if you get behind? You do outfarm all these champions, but Diana. Nunu is a very cringe matchup. If he has a lot of gankable lanes, you need to have time to farm, so usually you need to invade the Nunu before he starts impacting your lanes, which is my best advice. Your early game in isolation is better than all these champions. Remember, you have very insane sustain to be able to push them out of the jungle. Ganking junglers, if they are low on HP, they are unable to gank. Remember that. Now for this, there are some matchups you can lose, like Kha'Zix post 6 or Lee Sin in a 2v2, but they are all very winnable. If you are able to punish them on their mistakes, you can run over these matchups. When you look at these champions, Moral Reminder looks very OP because of how much healing they have, so keep that in mind. You are able to invade them early and slowly push them out. Graves has some of the best sustain in the game with Fleet Fork and how his kit is. You are able to cut camps and melee champions quite well with fleets and good spacing and your E. You also are able to build up grit and get the extra tankiness. Easy matchups now. They are very weak usually, these champions. Some also have very bad sustain in the jungle, so any HP you get off them early, they cannot fight you, and are forced to base or burgle flip it, like Jarvan, Wukong, Talon. You usually run over these matchups. Some only become annoying in team fighting stages, like Nocturne and like Wukong. So that's why your job in these matchups are to shut them down early game where you are stronger. You need to invade them, steal camps, push them out, delay level 6 from champions like Nocturne, Hecarim. They have a hard time versus you early. Look to invade level 1 and track them to keep shutting them down. Any play they want to make. And keep stealing camps and get a very big goal advantage to where you are hard to kill but can kill them very easily. Now let's get into the gameplay part of Graves. Going to give you the basics. The champion is pretty simple but takes a lot of reps to get really good at carrying on him. So for the early game, I suggest you play for level 1 invades, try to get vision so you can figure out where the enemy jungle can start. You can play for invades to get camp leads, which means you are getting a gold lead, which is what you need to do on Graves. Usually you want to path 2 lanes that benefit you, not the laner. Only you matter. You need the gold to carry or you are a piece of shit champion. Learn how to find gold constantly. You need to be able to sniff it out instantly on the map or you'll be poor. Just play with your setup in the mid game and keep looking for gold. That gold can be in standing towers, champion kills, or stealing camps. Just try to keep finding gold. Get to the 3 item, 4 item, to where you have a lot of damage and are very tanky. You need a lot of gold and XP to function on Graves. Otherwise, you are doing a disservice to your team, locking Graves and not doing your job. Your own teammates need to understand that also. You usually play in the front lines. You are a short range champion, but you are quite tanky and do a lot of damage. You have a dash, so you can play around with the enemy. Remember that your smoke screen is a disgusting ability. Literally denies vision from the enemy. Can catch them off guard with like a smoke screen to CC ability. At this stage, hopefully if you aren't useless, you did your job at getting a lot of gold and XP. Pump that damage and be annoyingly hard to kill for the enemy. There's only really a few mechanics to really look at. So let's go over a few. You got auto Q E. You can also do the same with W and R. The auto RE combo I like to call is the Superman. And lastly, a quick tip is cancelling the E animation up against a wall. It can speed up your clear or make a difference in the skirmishes. If you are able to think about it on the fly, it will make the difference. Well, we are getting to the end of the video, lads. I hope you got a lot out of the video. As for my final impressions, he is a very strong champion to master. Teaches you to be self-sufficient and how to find gold and invading, as he needs to know all 3 to be able to carry. I learned playing Graves, watching Tarzan. Yes, the North American one. He's very good at the champion when I was trying to find a way to learn him back in Season 8 for climbing purposes. It also made learning other champions like Kindred easier to learn just because they are very similar in terms of identity. They both are big damage dealers that lack CC to carry the team. Okay guys, that's it for me. I hope you took a lot out of this video. I'll be posting a lot of Graves gameplay videos that people have been asking me to post. I have a lot of insane carry games and we'll go through them and analyze how I did it. If you have any questions or comments on today's content, feel free to leave a comment below. I'll try to respond to every comment. Make sure to join our Discord. There is a description down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. I also offer coaching services for jungle and for AD carry. I can help you improve your carry jungle needs, and I have a lot of fantastic results. You can check it out on my Discord. Right now, the prices are $50 for 75 minutes, so we can easily get 2 games in with reviews. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you guys next time.